I'm doing that
from
now.
my.
All right.
You're
So
gonna you're gonna screen share, right?
yes, I am. So really the purpose of this is to simplify. There's a lot of different products, right? I know it's super confusing, and really just kind of how my brain works when I look through this. I can go 1,000 different directions just from knowledge, but that can also get you in a whole lot of trouble as a new agent. So it really is keeping it simple, and just kind of how my path works when I'm helping someone. And so really we're going to talk about 5 products and how I normally take a client through a product when I'm asking questions to figure out A, what do they want? And then B, ultimately, what can they qualify for? And, I always start with term because term is the most inexpensive option. It is what a lot of people are looking for. Some people don't want term, but that's usually where I start. And so product number 1 for term and is our proprietary product, and I'm going to share this as I go along. But this is what we call, it's underwritten by SBLI, but it is our Quility term, and you guys are going to see all this. I can't even find it now. I had it here ready. There it is. That is not it. Let me get to Quility level term. It is right here. And this term product is designed to give the client an offer, not a quote. Everything else that I'm going to show you is designed to give someone a quote. So it means we don't know if they're approved yet or not. But the thing that we love about Quility term, why we like to put people through this first, is we can give them an offer, meaning it's not a guessing game. We're going to know yes or no. And it's simply, I am in Texas, so I'm going to show you this. Just go to Texas. Let's go, say their birth date is what, 5/11/1982. Sounds good. Ooh,
So I heard that this is for the young, the healthy, and the good credit.
This is it. This is, yeah, exactly. This
So
term
what
product,
does young mean? Like if someone's in
under
their 50s and
50
they
and up.
truly aren't on any medication, is that still young? I mean, if they really don't have any health stuff, or
Yep.
is
No,
it
it's
okay?
designed for 50 years or younger.
Okay, thank you.
Really, I would say this one, the sweet spot for this one would be between the ages of like 20 and 45.
Okay.
And just as a little thing in insurance, as you start to play with quotes and do things, once you hit 45, every year after that, the cost of insurance really starts to creep up. And as you're quoting, here's the thing to know how insurance companies, this is a great little tip, is so let's say you're 45 years old and we do a 30-year term. They're not so much concerned that you're 45. They're concerned that it's going to take you to 75. So they're actually looking at the end age and they're backing it into how much your insurance is going to cost. So a lot of people think it's the age that you are. It's actually the age that you're going to be when this expires. And that's kind of how they prorate out the term. So I'm going to show you this, since this person here we're doing is a very healthy 40-year-old, because it is me. But it is, there's a couple things. We always got to be a citizen of the United States. You can be actively employed or, a homemaker, whether that's man or woman. It's really not designed to replace existing life insurance. And this does go to age 60, but I told you ideally it is between the ages of, I said 20, but 18 to 50. Again, this should always, if they don't qualify for this, don't move on, because it's going to get declined. But these are, if people don't qualify for this, then we're going to have a hard time finding them coverage. And then this is a great little list. As you're going into this is a great place to stop. Hopefully we've already done our underwriting before we get here, but there's a few little questions in here about diabetes and cancer, felony charges. This is one like, hey, is there anything in the past 10 years? I always ask, is there any naughtiness that I need to be made aware of? It always kind of diffuses the fact, were you a criminal? So I ask, is there any naughtiness?
I
So
like that.
yes, it's the way I learned to say it, makes me comfortable. Drug or alcohol abuse, any heart, liver, and AIDS, HIV, stroke, like when you see these heart disease, stroke, a stent, a bypass, anything that has to do with that, if it's a yes, it's going to be a decline. So for the most part, asthma or COPD, DUIs, DWIs, depression. So this is one to really pay attention to when you're asking for prescription medications. Oh, I take a little bit of an anxiety and a little bit of depression medication. A little bit is okay. But really, here is the rule of thumb for having like top coverage and then maybe having to go down a tier or two is, yeah, I have a little bit of anxiety or depression. Okay, well, how many medications do you take for anxiety? How many medications do you take for depression? And really, if you look at here, if it requires 3 or more, what it's basically saying is, are you taking one for depression, one for anxiety? If that's the case, then that's only 2. Once you go for 2 for anxiety and 1 for depression, or 2 depression, 1 anxiety, or over that, we got to dig deeper into underwriting. We got to go to, we call higher or lower tier products. And that's where it's a great time to reach out to your upline, myself. But mild depression and mild anxiety, taking both of those, it's not a big deal. Rheumatoid arthritis, connective tissue diseases. This is a big one. If you're waiting for test results, or if you have a surgery or surgery upcoming that hasn't been performed yet, we actually have to wait to put this coverage on you, because we have to wait for that to be completed. Hospitalized, and really this is a big one, and this is only really for SBLI. If you're active in the military. So if you're an agent that's working around military bases, this product will not go for active military. I will show you if this doesn't work, we're going to go to what's our next term, and I'll cover that. But active military, unfortunately, just even if they're in the military at any level. And then COVID. This is fairly new in the last couple of years, but any COVID in the last 30 days. If you say
if they're actively in the military, does it only, like the other products, does it only exclude them? Does it still exclude if they die like in the line of duty?
It does. So, well, it depends if it's war or not. So
Yeah,
one of the things
as
for
an
other
active war.
ones, yeah, if you're active in the military, they won't cover you if you're deployed or going to be deployed.
Okay.
So that's a big thing when people, hey, are you active in the military? Okay, hey, obviously, thank you for your service, right? But then, hey, any active deployments upcoming? Nope, nothing on the radar. Great. Then that's it. That's an easy move on that one.
Okay.
So with SBLI, if you ever have to click some of these apply, let's move on. It better be that 18 to 50-year-old that this is nope. Maybe, I mean, a lot of people get prescribed anxiety and depression stuff, but for the most part, these are big ones, cancer and heart stuff. The only one is that I would move forward with is just a little bit of anxiety or depression. If it was more than that, which we should know this before we do this, don't move on. But let's say none of them apply. I love this product. Here's the thing. This is a quote. They have not been pre-approved yet because they haven't given SBLI permission to look at their health history yet. So this is where we can kind of go, oh, we can play around with this now. And I want to show, I'm gonna bump this thing all the way up to 1 million just to show you some dramatic changes that can happen. Because this person is 40 years old, they're considering a 30-year term and $1 million. They're really thinking like, oh wait, he's going to be 70. Let's backtrack. So that's $319. Well, if we did a 20-year term, it's going to go, oh, he's only going to be 60. Watch how it drops $100 off a month because it's 20 years less. And then even down to 15, there's some big theories around just doing 15 years. But that's the big thing I look between a 15 and 20 year, 191 as opposed to 215. I would take the extra 5 years. Yeah. It's not that big of a price difference. Now that's great. We can find the term. We can find the amount of coverage that they want. Maybe it's 100,000. It's the lowest it goes. Maybe it's a 750. We can do everything in here in between. But the biggest thing that we do not know with this product is what is their rate class going to be? Do they have the perfect height and weight? They have no medical history. Are they going to get elite? Man, that would be amazing. If they can get elite, like, please get this coverage. Like, just snatch it up right away. Everything comes in. If you'll notice, when this came here, it was based on select. Now, could go down to standard, and you'll see standard rates go up. If they are a smoker, this is a great thing, and this is pretty much for all of our carriers. If standard's 321, if they are a smoker or really nicotine user, sorry, that's a mean for the maybe that was a Freudian slip. Back to high school. But if they are a nicotine user, so that is In this one, it considers vaping, right? That's using nicotine, chewing, smoking, you name it. That's classified in here. But we know they're not a nicotine user. Maybe they can get Select. Okay, Select is the what is it, 215. But the last thing I want to do on this product is go, oh my gosh, I can get you $1 million for $125 a month. Oh, great, let's do it. Okay, cool. Let's see what you can get. Oh, you actually got rated at standard, right?
So
So
what is the difference between those?
it's just
Really
helping
high weight, right?
they're going to look at your credit, height, and weight.
Okay.
Maybe they're 5'2" and 320 pounds. In the insurance business, we would tell them they're not tall enough for this product. Again, another polite way to tell them their build doesn't fit. We want to be polite. But that's why. You can also, if you want, the thing I love about this one, if you want, you can actually click here for their product guide and kind of dig in. The height and weight chart is in there. In fact, did this pop up okay for you guys?
Yes.
So there's
That's
free
what I was telling you yesterday, Brittany. You have to really look at the height and weight, and you can
the height
tell
and weight
what they
chart
should-
is our first filter, and it's right here. You can actually download these, but I would show it to you, but just it's there. It's a great little thing. When someone tells me they're 5'7" and 250, I'm kind of like, okay, I know they're not going to get preferred, right? I doubt they're going to get Select. It's probably going to be standard because that's up there. Now if they're 6'2" and 250, now they can probably get Select. But the biggest rule of thumb here that we really want to remember is with this is what we say. It's like, hey, I actually have a proprietary term product that will give you an offer on the spot. We can find out in 7 minutes what rate class you're going to get, and we're going to find out exactly what the cost will be. So I can't go through the full process, but I'll show you a little bit here. We go start application. Going to re-ask some of these questions. Are you a citizen? We better say yes. Do you have any pending applications or existing life insurance? Let's just go no. Are we going to replace? No, we are not. Serving the military? No. What's your annual income? We got to get some personal questions, and that is really more to make sure we're not putting $1 million on someone that makes $20,000 a year. It's kind of a little weird, and like, how can you afford this? Are you currently working? And again, let's put them at, we'll go 5'7", 180, nice build. And then tobacco. These are just questions that we need to ask through. We want to be specific. Tobacco, yeah, this is good. It does exclude cigars. So the one thing to know about tobacco is, occasional cigar use. So if they're smoking a cigar on the weekend once or twice a month, good to go. I have some people that will tell me, like, I'm a cigar smoker. The biggest thing to ask there is how frequently. And I mean, I have some of these guys that are cigar smokers and like, well, every day you're a smoker. So excluding, really what that should say is excluding the occasional cigar.
Yeah.
So that's
But they're meant to be. Yeah.
Yes. So, and we're going to go through any disability. These are just questions that you can we're just going to ask these of the client as we go along. So I love this one. Any racing, motor vehicle, scuba diving, rock or mountain climbing. Some of the carriers ask any rodeo events. That applies to us in Texas. I did, and it's interesting. I did have a lady who was a barrel racer, and I had to call the carrier and I said, she does rodeo events, a barrel racer. And they're like, well, does she do it professionally? Does she get paid? And I said, no, she doesn't. They're like, okay, that's more of a hobby. It's not her profession. We're good to go. So that's kind of on this one. And I'm going to kind of fly through some of these questions because you can play around with them. And what I want to get to is, so here's where it might be, major. So if we click yes to any of these, again, they're going back through the health questions to make sure we didn't miss anything. Major depression. We know that's, over 2 medications. These are all big things that we kind of already went over. We're going to go none of these. DUIs, DWIs, we already looked at. Any speeding tickets, right? This one really digs in. We're going to be really good here. No speeding tickets on their record. You can have a speeding ticket, do defer to adjudication. It's not on your record. You put 0.
Yeah.
So for all the lead foots out there. All right. I'm just going to I want to show you guys what sort of the next process is on this. So here's where the rubber meets the road with the client. We need their social. We're gonna, hey, this is okay. They can go look. This is where we need to get their name, their address, everything in here. I'm not going to go through all of this, but basically we're going to put that in, and the next couple steps is we're going to send them a text message, and they're going to be able to sign through text message that SBLI can look at their health history. And
Do you
within,
stay on the phone with them?
stay on the phone always, or Zoom meeting, or if you're with them in person, you can actually do this app from your phone. So this one's really, but yeah, stay on the phone with them and go, hey, you're gonna get this text message. It goes through right away. Did you get it? Simple click through for them to sign. And then what it does, it will ask one or two more questions, and it'll actually take you back to what looks like the quote screen. So like, oh, here's a quote. It actually now will have the rate class locked, whether it was standard, select, preferred, or elite. And then the great part about this is, oh, hey, great, you were offered select coverage, which is better than standard. This is fantastic. Now, then we go in, okay, do you want a 20-year or 30-year? Do you want $1 million or 750,000, or do you just want 100,000? And then we can give them the cost. And so now it literally, when they're ready, we're ready to move forward at that point. The next step is getting the banking info. And the neat thing about this product is it will actually draft their bank account that day, meaning the coverage goes into force right then and there. It's a really cool thing about this product. They are covered right then and there. And then as a bonus for the agent, you will get this wonderful little deposit in your account from SBLI. I think it actually says like SV1 is the deposit. So you get all these fun little deposits in your account from all these carriers. So this is the great kind of first entry. Now, let's say you get to the offer. This is great. And you get the dreaded, well, I want to think about it. What you need to do is write down this ARC number. That is their application ID. You need to write that down for the client, because this will sit here as an offer for 2 weeks. So they do have 2 weeks. I'm very big on, like, if we're going to take it this far, like, let's pen this deal. I can tell you our number one core value is belief in what we do. That belief goes into passion of getting people protected. You will get devastated as an agent if someone tells you they got to think about it and randomly die a week later. You will question and I'm being dead, and not pun, no pun intended, but I'm being dead serious. It's happened. It sucks, because what we do is serious. So I'm very big on going, hey, I got to think about it. They're looking at $500,000. I go, would you have to think about if we started with 200,000 and it was, half the cost? Because what they have to think about is the cost on it. I am big on, let's get something we can always add on down the road.
Yeah.
Big advocate of that. I've never had it happen to me to where, someone passed away and they think about it, but I have heard it over and over and over again. And so that's where my tenacity comes. It's not to make the sale, but it's like, hey, if we've gotten this far and you really want this, let's start at $30 a month instead of $150 a month. I want to find something. Once you get the banking info in there, it is, and I'll show you more banking info. We'll be able to move further in an application. But that's the beautiful, and then you're done. This is issued, it is paid, they are covered. This is the easiest way we have to write insurance, bar none. Technically, if you got someone on there that has information, I could do this start to finish done in 7 minutes. It'd probably take you all like 10 or 15 because it's your first couple of times. That's okay.
Yes.
but that's how fast it can be. If you're chatting with someone, right? Jen, you're at a volleyball game and you're like, hey, let me run you through this. I am big on this one of having it, I've got this bookmarked on my Google Chrome on my phone. I can pull up Quility Term, SBLI, on my phone and run someone through it. That's simple. So this is a beautiful thing. Don't let where you are. The only thing is you got to make sure you're licensed in the state that they're in. But, if you're at a volleyball game, you're probably in the right state. But this one is so great. It's so easy. Do it from your phone. Don't let that stop you. And yes, I know you got to get social security numbers. We got to get routing numbers, bank account numbers. But I will show you when we pivot. I'll kind of show you how I ask for that. Because it's really assumptive. Because if you ask weird, like, okay, I'm gonna need your banking information, is that okay? It's not going to be okay if you ask it that way. So, but I will get into that. Now, however, SBLI is extraordinarily fickle. Brooklyn McDermott will preach that all day long. It's great when it works, but because it's this instant decision, because it's so inexpensive, it has extraordinarily strict underwriting guides. So another reason why I go, hey, let me try to put you through this if we can get you an offer. If they get declined here and we're going for term, the next company we want to go to is American Amicable. This is one of my favorites because they have a little bit looser underwriting. The price is going to go up, but there's a lot of benefits in here. So first path, we're going to go SBLI QLT term. See if we can get it
On that SBLI, do you add any riders on there typically or no?
If they have kids, I mean, you should add a kid rider on there. I mean, it's so
Not do a
inexpensive.
separate policy?
Yeah, well, I also think you should do a separate policy for two reasons. Well, one, the kid rider is so inexpensive, but it does eventually expire. And two, get a policy on the kid while you can. We'll go a kid's whole life policy because their price will never change. So I'm a big advocate of, if we're going to do this, protect the whole family. And again, that kind of comes down to the belief of what we do. It is a little bit of, well, talking about, well, what if something happens to your kid? I go, well, what if something does happen, right? The last thing you want to do is put a GoFundMe out there on Facebook.
Right. Or I keep noticing of that, like even on the SBLI one, like a lot of kids have asthma. And I keep seeing that. I just saw that on the SBLI. Like that might, I guess if it's seasonal,
mild,
it's okay.
Seasonal asthma is fine. And there's different levels. And that's kind of
Yeah.
the tricky thing with underwriting. You're like, oh, I've got like 3 inhalers. You might have more severe asthma.
Okay.
But seasonal asthma is not a big deal.
Okay.
But so now you're like,
Good
all
to
right,
know.
well, they're that 18 to 50-year-old. Man, why did SBLI decline them? Because of HIPAA laws, they can't tell us. And so there's really, once they're declined there, and assuming we just kind of do a double check, is there any health issues that we missed? The next way I like to go is I like to go to American Amicable. I like their express term. It is really good priced. It's extraordinarily friendly for females because females live longer than us males. And so that's just a mortality table, actuary table that they do. But what I would try to do then here, this is going to go to get them an offer. We're going to go in here and do some quotes for this. This quoter is pretty easy once you've used it a couple times, and I'll show you a couple little tricks on this. So let's go back to our 40-year-old guy. Now this product only goes up to $500,000, which is actually really good. It actually, a year ago, it only went up to 300,000. So the nice thing is our carriers are always working on creating better products for us. They went from 300,000, $500,000, pretty incredible. I'm going back to the 20-year plan. And so here, I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm just looking for basic life insurance. Oh, it's $166 a month. Now, if you were paying attention to the other one, what do we have? $1 million, a 20-year million was, I think, like $135 a month but that was also elite. So that's why we want to run. If we're going for term, let's run it through SBLI. Let's see if we can get them that. But if not, that's why we don't want to give a quote with SBLI, because they're going, why is this one so expensive? That is the disparity of the products. And so that's why we want to try to put them through SBLI first, because it's a great rate. This is the next best. Now I'll show you this. So that's a 40-year-old male, $166. This particular product actually gives different rates. Let's see if this will get me in trouble. So it's a little bit less for females. And actually, the older you get, ladies get a better rate than men. The older we get, men's rates keep climbing way faster. But this also has a lot of riders, like, what are all these things? Let's dig into those just real quick. I'm going to give you kind of a high level. The nice thing is American Amicable has a lot of information that we can look at it.
I noticed when I tried to quote this that it will tell you what you're doing wrong. Like if your person is 57, it won't let you quote them a 30-year. Like it tells you.
It's like, let's say I want to try to do 600,000. It's going to tell me, oh, maximum coverage is 500,000, which is really nice. There are a lot of things in here that you could do wrong. I'll do Jen's example because I think that's a great one. So put him at 60, put him at a 30-year. Let's put him at 100,000. What's the error I get? Maximum age is 55 because of the 30-year. So they wouldn't qualify. So, oh, wait a minute. What do I do here? I can drop it down to a 20-year. do it again. Ah, we got a quote. Perfect.
Do you ever do the return of premium option?
Great question. Not really.
Okay.
And here's a couple reasons why. I'll do it.
Okay.
A 20-year ROP. So we're at 174. It goes to 313. It's a 75% ROP, meaning they'll get 75% of that $313 back. So it actually is a big savings, but it takes 20 years to get it. If you want to dig into it, do a little research, American Amicable right here at the bottom has this view and download PDF. You have to scroll down for it.
Okay.
And I don't know if this will pull up with the way can you guys see? Yeah, you can see what I pulled up.
Yeah.
What it shows you is now you can also go, well, at the end of 20 years, when you're 80, you will have $56,000 of your money coming back to this, which is 75% of the premiums you put in. Most of the time, when I'm looking at more of a return of premium, people are looking for cash value buildup. I'm going to go more into an advanced market product, or I typically show return of premium on a term for someone in their 20s or 30s, because it's not that expensive. When you get a little bit older, I just don't think it becomes price effective on it. So that's why I don't do that. But I'm a big advocate of like that 20-year term is usually the sweet spot for really good coverage, really good price.
So
We can add on. Was there a question?
20, not 30.
Even if I have someone that is in their 20s and 30s, maybe. But there's also, you kind of look at it, I'm a big advocate of going, most people are going to buy more insurance. So the stat out there is if someone buys life insurance,
really?
Statistically, they're going to buy life insurance 2 more times in their life.
Okay.
So that's why you want to be their agent, be there for them. But in the grand scheme of things, I think everybody should have a term, because if you look at it, so let's go back to our 40-year-old guy here, 40-year-old person. And let's say the 40-year-old, they want some good coverage. If they're 40, they've got 2 daughters that are really expensive. They're going to go off to college. If he passes away now, the amount of debt and expenses ahead in life are pretty enormous. So we want to look higher. But the reality is, when this 40-year-old gets to the age of 60, should not have the need for $500,000. Maybe 50,000, maybe 100,000. So I'm a big advocate of going, let's get a lot of term for the immediate. So do that 15, 20 years, because my oldest daughter is 9. So I'm like, well, in 15 years, she's going to be 24. Okay. That's out of college. Of course, maybe that's when I'm the most broke. I don't know. I'll find out. But, so I'm like, okay, well, at 40, maybe I want a 20, or take me to 60. They're out of college and maybe married, I don't need $500,000, but I do want maybe 50,000 or 100,000 for my wife, for burial expenses, for whatever, to have it in there. But hopefully I've been paying my debts down and, mortgages down, all that different stuff. So people are always thinking of the now, and they go, oh, I want a 30-year. I was like, well, the price of a 20-year is a whole lot less. And especially in situations like this. So it does vary. And this is why you play around with these quoters. Let's take a 60-year-old guy. We can do so here we go. So for a 60-year-old, the maximum coverage is 300,000. I learned something new. So, all right, well, now we know the max is 300,000 at 60. This is $513 at a 20-year term. Now, if I want to requote this, I'm deleting out the premium, requote it. That's a big tip. Delete out the premium. Oh, and so I could maybe I go down to a 10-year. I forgot this one doesn't have a 15-year. But look at the price difference. It's down to, which dropped like $200. So there's big things here where that 20-year is kind of the sweet spot. But so play around with it. But 15, 20 years is usually what we like.
And there's no product that it fills in the gap between the 500 and the million?
Well, that would be SBLI. And it's coming out. We should have that here in like a month or 2.
Okay.
No, there is
I'm saying, like, if they can't qualify SBLI, but they really want more than 500,000, we don't have a different carrier to go to.
Not yet. We do, but that requires blood work, full medical exam. It's a lot of work. It usually takes 2 that's typical life insurance, by the way. Typical life insurance is we're going to poke and prod you, get a nurse to come over, take your blood pressure, weight, all that stuff. Order attending physician statements, which is the APS. Yeah. And that usually takes forever because doctors, it takes 6 weeks to 8 weeks for doctors to send in their statements. And that's That's on them. And then the carrier has to look at it, and that could take a while. So we try to avoid that for a couple of reasons. One, 30% of fully underwritten policies go on the books. Brooklyn, if I can use you as an example, Brooklyn got this girl, she did a fully underwritten, got her a great rate class, did all that work. And Brooklyn, what happened with that girl that you did the fully underwritten for?
Muted.
So you're muted. But Brooklyn went through it, and what'd she do?
Are you talking about Claire?
Yeah.
Yeah, she just ghosted me. Like, first we got her approved with SBLI. And then that was 6 months ago. She comes back like, hey, I'm ready now. We get her approved again. Then she's like, I think I can get it cheaper with blood work. So we go do blood work. That took forever. Same exact rate as SBLI. And then like she ghosted me on the day. Like yesterday was the actual deadline. I mean, I've been dealing with this woman forever.
Yeah. But like it's been, you know, that we're really big again, like going blood work is 30% of those policies go on the books because of the time it takes. You know, maybe we quote them a higher rating because we're competing, you know, oh, well, you know, like Brooklyn's girl said, I can get this cheaper somewhere else. And I go, is that a quote or an offer? I'm like, oh, well, that's just a quote. I said, okay, so they were just trying to sell you, right? We go, let me educate you on this and let me see if I can get your family protected. I said, if you want a quote, so when people ask for like a quote and they're price shopping you, I said, here's what I tell them all the time. You want a quote for life insurance? Okay, it's $10. And you just stay quiet because inevitably they're going to ask you, what's that for? And I go, I don't know. You just said you wanted a quote. And I'm not being, it's funny. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but what I am trying to do is get them going like, we're not here to just quote you. Like, this isn't a car. This isn't, I don't know, solar panels. I'm not trying to belittle those things, right? But you will be okay if you get the Pinto and not the Mercedes. You will be okay if you don't get the solar panels and have to go off the electrical grid. Your family will not be okay if you die and don't have this insurance. It's just a different level. So when people are like, oh, get me a quote, it is our job to really enter in a little bit and just go, well, what do you want this coverage to do? And then we get to dig into some of the benefits of it and what it does and the quality of the company. If you want the cheapest quote out there, it's $10. I don't know what that's going to get you. It's just a quote. So that's really, but it's a mindset thing. And we got to get people out of their own way. Because again, oh, I can get it cheaper over there. And I said, oh, did they just quote you or did they actually take the time? Did they just quote you and try to sell you? That is the question. So when you guys are messaging and get all different stuff, Brooklyn, when you get a message like that, oh, I can get it cheaper over somewhere else. You responded. Did they just quote you and try to sell you?
Right.
Or taking the time to educate you and make sure it's right for your family? Oh,
A lot of times I've had it, a lot of times they still go do it. And then they come back because my quote with SBLI was cheaper.
yep. And they went through they'll go through all the blood work.
They went through all the blood work and I was $100 cheaper on the one guy.
Yep.
So it's just crazy. But then he, you know, like he's went and got that blood work. They weighed him, put all that, you know, so whatever weight he had told me may not match.
Exactly. So you're gonna run into that, especially as you guys are going out there, even through our leads, we run, oh, they were cheaper over there. I'm telling you, when you are messaging people did they just quote you and try to sell you, or did they take the time to educate you to protect your family? I'm here to educate you and protect your family. It is something I wish I had told you I learned this years ago. I learned that last week. And I've been in this business for almost 6 years. And it blew my mind. I go, wow, that's all a quote is trying to sell someone. If you just take that extra step to try to educate them, and I'm going to go into a little bit of education for this product, and I think we need to move along or this video is going to be way too long. Because I'm trying to keep it evergreen so we can use it over and over again. So the neat thing about when we move into this is kind of our core product with American Amicable is we can do a lot of things. Yes, we can put on critical illness riders for spouse and child. We can add on critical illness to this. And I'll do a quick little example just to keep this brief. But we can actually add on a 50% critical illness rider to this. And what that does is it allows the client to have access to 50% of whatever death benefit we get in the event of a heart attack, stroke, or cancer. The cancer has to be invasive, meaning it can't be melanoma or lower, like squamous cell, basal cell. It has to be invasive cancer. So pretty much skin cancer is the only one that's excluded from this. the one thing that American Amicable does differently than pretty much any other carrier that we work with is if you get diagnosed with this, you have the option to exercise where you can have 50% of your death benefit. So that's 50 grand in your pocket. It's usually about 10 days. It's tax-free, and it is designed to take all the time off of work you want. Don't worry about medical bills. Focus on getting better. Throw money at the problem. That is what this is. And
So if you use that benefit, does that cancel out your death benefit?
it cuts it in half. So your death
Okay.
benefit goes, but also your rates go down. So your monthly, because you've used it, your monthly rate will go down to what that would be too. But it's a great option to use in there. And I had
Is that something you add most of the time?
I try to. Some people
Okay.
don't care. I think it's super important. I had a young lady, she was 40, early 40s. And I had done, she had a small policy. I think it was going to be her critical illness rider. I think was like ended up being 10 grand. And she goes, Marty, I just remembered you told me if anything serious ever happens to me, I was supposed to call you. Like, that's what I leave people with. I go, if it's major, call me because you have a ton of options on this plan. And so she goes, hey, I have ovarian cancer. And I'm like, how, first question is, hey, how are you? How serious is it? And she goes, the good news is they caught it early. I have to go get a hysterectomy and all that stuff. And I said, okay. She goes, I think I'm going to be okay, but I'm going to be out of work for 3 weeks. I got all this different stuff. They do have to do some little bit of chemo and radiation. And I said, don't worry. Like, that's the first words that could come out of my mouth is don't worry. This plan is going to give you 10 grand to pay for your medical bills and time off of work. And it's just tears on the other end. And she goes, are you serious? I said, you do not have to worry about money. You just worry about getting better. Like that's like just the stuff that like, even I guess, like that's the cool stuff that we get to do for people. That's the passion. Like this is deep stuff. And so I love the critical illness rider, even if it's a 25%, that's 25 grand. That's gonna cover some week's wages. That's gonna throw some money at some medical bills. I mean, this lady, she had health insurance, but I think she still had a 5 grand deductible. I think she had time for work, but it was just that warm blanket of like the last thing you have to worry about is money. So I'm a big advocate of the critical illness rider. These are the children's rider. You can add coverage on their children. When you do the children's rider, it says units. You can have to dig into the agent guide. Each unit actually means $3,000 worth of coverage. So I always put on 5 units. That means it's 15. I don't know why they do it this way, but that means it's $15,000 worth of coverage. And what that is, this is kind of an important detail. It is an umbrella policy for all of their kids. This is the best way I have to describe it. It's not the most sensitive way, but it is a first come, first serve, meaning this can only be used once.
Okay.
And so once, if they have, if they have 3 kids and 1 kid dies, they're going to use the 15 grand. It's designed for burial, but the rider is gone. And it doesn't. So Jen, kind of going back to, I like the children's rider. It's really, I think it adds like $3 a month, $5 a month. It's worth it. I'm still a big advocate of let's get a kid's policy on every one of those kids too.
So yeah, do that, but still get them an individual policy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they're like an age minimum, like 15 or
no minimum, 18 and under.
So when they just age out at 18 and it's
it varies from carrier to carrier. I actually looked into this today specifically. The really cool thing is AmAm, it doesn't age out till they're 25. So I was helping, you guys know, we've been talking to Chris Murphy, she issued like 24 grand last month and she's been here for like a minute. But she's just, and I learned this today. Like I literally learned this. She has a client who has a young son who just has some developmental stuff and some other things that he is not eligible. He's 17 years old and he's just not eligible for even the kids coverage. And I love that she's only been here for a couple of months and she schooled me a little bit. She goes, Marty, what about putting a kid's term rider on a term policy for the mom to get the kid protected? I was like, yeah, but it expires at age of 18. She proceeds to then go, you're wrong. And I was like, thank you for the education. So I looked it up at AmAm today. I was like, it actually goes to 25. So she's like, so could I write a term policy on the mom just to get the kids some coverage? I was like, absolutely. I mean, that's how much she cares. That's also why she's a really good agent. Like she is tenacious, just to find a little tiny kids rider for them. So I'll skip over some of these other things. One thing that I never do is a spouse, you can either do like a spouse rider for there's like you can see there'll be like a term rider, like, oh, so I can put $100,000 term rider for my spouse. I never do those because if, let's say the term rider was on me, or excuse me, if the term rider was on Hillary and the policy's on me, and I pass away, she has no life insurance on her because it was
Yeah.
on my policy. So I really like the spouse critical illness rider. I want to do those individually, so everyone has their own policy. I'm not big. Kids are different, but I don't want to. I really would rather put a small policy on the spouse, so their coverage never something would happen. They lose their spouse and they lose all their coverage that was on their spouse's policy. And then the other thing with this one, because we're dealing with hopefully younger people. I have this one at 60. Let's say we want to do disability. It's going to throw an error at me. The total disability rider is only between the ages of 18 and 55. I love this because it tells us, like, it's going to play around with the quoter.
Yeah.
It will tell you. You will learn so much from this quoter alone. So, but let's do this. Let's go back to our 40-year-old here. And we're going to do it back to the 20 years, that sweet spot. And now we're going to quote this up. We've got the child rider on there. It's 25% critical illness. Let's just keep it at 100,000. Man, that's not too bad for $100,000 of coverage. It's 25,000, right? 25% of critical illness and $1,500 of disability a month. What that is the doctor has to deem you disabled, right? You cannot say, I can't work. You have to have the doctor's notes that says I can't work. This policy will pay out $1,500 of disability for up to 2 years.
And no elimination period?
When you first, you have to be disabled it's in the agent guide. I know we're recording this, but I think it's either 60 days or 90 days before the disability, but there is an elimination period before it kicks in. And I do believe you have to have this policy for at least 90 days before the disability rider and the critical illness rider kicks in.
So you often add this rider too?
I don't often add disability. And here's why. I'll show it to you without $83.52. If we take off disability, it just dropped $22 or $32. Almost, I mean, you're talking about over a third of that policy was disability. And most people aren't looking for disability. It really is kind of fourth or fifth on their list.
Yeah.
It is really the big thing here is the death benefit. Critical illness is a big one. I mean, who here doesn't know someone that's had a heart problem or cancer? Right.
Yeah.
Cancer doesn't care how old you are. It sucks. I'm like, get it now. Like, well, I'm healthy. I don't think I need it. No. This is when you get it, is because you're healthy. Like, people are, so many people come to us when they've had a problem. I go, get it now. Now there are 3 things that are included with American Amicable. And I don't have it to pull up, but these are great. We'll make sure to get the agent guide in everybody's hands, but there are 3 living benefits that are not on the quoter because we can't add them in and we can't take them out. They come automatically included.
So
the first one is terminal illness. The time frame on this can vary state to state, but I know the absolute minimum is if you go to the doctor and he goes, hey, Marty, we found something. You have a year or less left to live. It's going to give the insured access to the death benefit while they're still alive. It's a really cool benefit for a really horrible situation. If you don't have that rider on here, I don't know if you guys ever heard the stories of they're trying to keep their loved one alive and they're going broke and they can't afford the life insurance, and the life insurance lapses. And then their loved one dies months later and they have no life insurance. It has happened. It's why that rider exists. It's automatically included. The other one is chronic illness. That means if you need assistance with daily living, you cannot perform 2 out of the 6 daily tasks. That's things like eating, bathing, taking pills, getting dressed, going to the bathroom, moving around. It allows you to have access to a portion of that death benefit every month. It's actually about 2.5% of the death benefit, up to a maximum of $3,000 or $5,000 a month. I can't remember off the top of my head. So if you have a bigger policy here, it will cap out at $3,000 or $5,000 a month. But That is indefinite but every time you use that though, if you're using that confined care rider and you use $5,000 on the month, your death benefit goes down by that much.
Okay.
But confined care costs are, there's through the roof. The other one is, or excuse me, that is chronic illness. I think I said confined. There's legal definition. That's technically a chronic illness. That means you can't take care of yourself. Confined care is more like nursing care. So if you need to go into nursing care, chronic illness is someone's maybe coming to you, help you, go through your day. Nursing care is you actually go into a facility. That is covered as well. Same kind of standards as the chronic illness. We cannot legally define it as long-term care.
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah, it's a legal definition, so do not call it long-term care because it technically isn't. Long-term care has a little bit of a broader standard to it, but long-term care is also designed for a period of time. It is, maybe it's $5,000 a month for 3 years. That's a long-term care policy. This is a death benefit that happens to have 100,000 in it. So we can't define it as long-term care coverage, but we can tell them if they go into nursing care or if they need assistance with daily living, they can use it. So it does serve a very similar purpose. So I've had people
It's a lot of bang for your buck on a term.
It's enormous. So we just went from SBLI, right? That is like death benefit, super inexpensive. They can get it. But when we move over, yeah, the cost goes up, but you get a tremendous amount. And I think one of the biggest things that's important, it goes back, and I love repeating myself on this because it's so important, is do you want to quote and be sold, or do you want us to educate you on getting your family protected? Because we have a lot that we can do. All right. Any questions?
And if they get 500,000 and then they want to get another 500 next year,
we would have to, so that's where we would go into other carriers, and that's when that's when you reach out, right? I'm trying to keep this is our basic bread and butter stuff.
But they can add cover. I mean,
they can. So let's take this gentleman here. He got $100,000 of coverage. This policy maxes out at $500,000. He could get 5 $100,000 policies in 5 years, or he can do whatever, as long as he qualifies with health. But he cannot go over the max that this policy will allow. So we can't do 2 $500,000 policies. American Amicable's limit is $500,000.
You have to go elsewhere. Okay.
And we've done it. I've done it many times, especially when we get into the final expense, which I'll get there. Our final expense caps at like 50,000, and there are people that want to spend the money. I was like, well, we'll write you 2 final expense policies, but it's going to be like $600 a month. They go, no problem. Well, let me just start typing and write that up for you. You're like, absolutely.
Okay, here I go. Okay.
I've never done it. We have our 3 main final expense are American Amicable, Mutual of Omaha, and Americo. I have seen agents write all 3 of those in one person because we got to have it.
Okay.
I think it was close to like $800.
Good to know.
Yep. It was pretty awesome. So that's kind of our 2 main routes for term. If this doesn't do it, hey, stop down, reach out, right? These are just our quick ones to go through for term. Okay. So that's so a little bit of SBLI, a little bit of American Amicable. I'm going to come back to American Amicable for final expense, but for now I'm going to move over to Mutual of Omaha. And Mutual of Omaha has this tremendous product. Trust me, Jennifer Hill is a huge fan of this one right now. She sold 2 of these in the last 2 days. This is their Indexed Universal Life Express, which is just a version of whole life. Their pricing on this is tremendous for getting someone coverage that will last their whole life. It does build up a little bit of cash value, not a ton. Brittany Veach knows this because we were looking at this morning. Again, I told y'all are keeping me busy.
You're helping all my people.
Yeah. So, but this one is really, I use this product. I honestly don't even talk about cash value buildup on this one. Okay. I typically, or if someone needs it simple, but I typically use this product as a whole life. Hey, I just want something that won't expire. I go, great, let's just go this route. Yes, it builds cash value. I sort of mentioned that on the back end. I tell people it builds cash value. It's not a ton, but it does. They go, okay. Because I'm really focused on the death benefit of what this is going to do. So this is.
You write a kid with this policy, or you do
well right here. Look at this current age. It tells. I love these quoters. Current age. You can do 18 to 70.
Okay.
Yeah, so not this one. That would again reach out to me if we're digging the kids. That Jen, that's going to be F and G. Then we're gonna do a deep dive in an IUL, but that would be for another time.
Yeah.
Let's take our 40-year-old, and this one. I love this because it tells you here. Look, the maxes. It can go as low as 25,000. You can go as high as 300,000. Let's go all the way to the max on this one, and we're looking at $186.43. I can tell you for a whole life, that is a tremendous price for a 40-year-old. I know you're
I
like,
wanted to ask on this product, so you can't select any form of rating.
no, so the only product that we have right now that has a rating is SBLI. So
Okay.
all of these actually are table rated at about table 4. When you get into nerd insurance world, you'll know what that means. But these are, the nice thing about these is it is what it is. You're either going to get it or you're not.
Because they're simplified issue?
It's simplified issue, but so is SBLI is simplified issue, but they actually have the ability to have rate classes in there. And rate classes just get dangerous because again, never quote someone elite standard. If I'm going to quote them, like, you get the bottom rung, because the day old or the age old adage is what is under promise and over deliver.
Yeah.
So I'm going to quote them standard. Hey, this is gonna be like $200. Oh my gosh, you got preferred. It's 150. I look like a hero to them, and then I get referrals. And everybody's happy. So, but most of our products are just standard flat rates, which is really the best way to go. So I love this one because we'll get people that maybe they're a really healthy 60-year-old. And I'm going to do a little side-by-side comparison. They have to be a really healthy 60-year-old, no health problems or anything like that. And I'm going to dip into final expense here because I really want to give you guys some great examples here. So I went back to American. I know I'm doing this quickly, but this is Dignity Solutions. So this is American Amicable's whole life for older, or as we say in the insurance business, the more mature individual. It's for old people. And so let's go. Let's take our 60-year-old and let's just do 25,000 here.
Is this the guaranteed issue product or no?
This is not guaranteed issue, but it's got a pretty generous, oh, they had a heart attack 3 years ago, or they had cancer 3 years ago. Everything else gets thrown out. If they've ever had a heart attack, all the other products I showed you, we can't do. If they've had a cancer, they got to be at least 7 years out from the cancer. But when you get into your 60s, the heart attack was kind of yesterday sometimes, right? You get in your 70s. Right. So if it's outside of 3 years of a heart attack or stroke, this is why we have a final expense product. But I want to show you, we can actually run multiple quotes at one time on this. But now a whole life product for a 60-year-old, $25,000 is $113. I think that would scare a lot of people. Like, ooh, that's kind of expensive. I promise you, people will pay for this all the time to cover their funeral expenses because it's either that or a GoFundMe page, right?
Yeah.
But
this is really like the option. You can have nothing because you don't qualify for it, or you can have this.
Right. And so when I get people in the age of 50 or 60, I am like, no heart problems, no stents, no bypasses, no cancers, no, the anxiety or depression when it gets into the, above, when it gets to that three medication level. But let's say they are a super healthy 60-year-old, like Marty. I don't have any of that. I am really healthy. Height and weight is good, all that different stuff. This is a lifesaver for us because check this out. $63 for 25,000 as opposed to $113. Half the price. But
where are you?
This is the Index Universal Life Express to American Amicable's final expense Dignity Solutions. But usually we're only going to Dignity Solutions because there's been a major health event.
So really old and probably unhealthy.
Unhealthy, and and then again, if they're like, well, hold on a second, they had a heart attack 2 years ago. There's different underwriting guides, but this is one of those ones where you'll learn it a little bit. But hey, I've got a kind of healthy 60-year-old. How kind of healthy, that's it with him. So, and you learn these really quick. But like my go-to, kind of the train of thought is, SBLI is my term. They don't get an offer there. I'm going to AmAm Term Express. If they're looking for whole life, I am going to go to Mutual of Omaha's IUL because it's a great product. If they're unhealthy and a little bit older looking for whole life, you do have to be over the age of 50. for this product.
Okay.
We do have
For
some others,
Dignity
like
Solutions, over 50.
we do have some final expense. So basically, I when I use the word final expense, what I want you guys to think of is unhealthy. Like when someone has a major life event, we do have a couple other carriers that will actually go all the way down to 40 years old, which is incredible. That's actually fairly new for us too. If that situation comes up, hey, I've got someone under the age of 50 that have some pretty major health issues. And again, that's a situation. Let's reach out and talk about it. You know, we'll take that to the next level. But what I'm showing you is going to cover 80% of the people that you talk to. That's why we're kind of doing this.
Yeah.
So this one is great. I love this. Is an easy quoter. It's smooth. It's pretty simple. And again, let's use let's go back to our let's do a 60-year-old male at $100,000, $236 on this quote. Let's look at the female, 236, 164. I told you, you ladies get the discount. Like that's massive, isn't it?
So oftentimes would you do this and a higher value amount term and a small amount of this?
Yep, you are. Look at you, like Jen's so coachable.
You even told me that today.
Yeah. So if
That's
someone
what I have
really-
for myself, so it makes sense, right?
Yes.
Your term runs out and then you just need a little bit.
Yeah, and that's where we enter in. Like, do you want to quote or do you want me to educate you? And we're not here to oversell, we're not here to do anything like that. But you know, if we're doing a $300,000 American Amicable, I'm going to show them something between 25 and 100,000 over here. The older they are, the lower, you know, if it was a 60-year-old, I'm probably just going to go down to 25,000, right? We need burial expenses here. So, but yeah, this is a product that I would add on to, but you'll have some people, I will sit down with one person and they're going to be like, Marty, don't you dare show me that term garbage. And I was like, okay, why do you feel that way about term? And they're going to tell you something. I'm going to sit down with the next client and they're like, Marty, don't you dare show me that whole life. I'm like, why do you feel that way about whole life? And it's, you know, they're going to
Just
get
preconceived ideas. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, term is, oh, that's how they get you. I go, what do you mean? It's like, I'm just going to pay into it. I'm never going to use it. And they get all my money. And I go, that's actually best scenario for you, right? Because you didn't die.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I don't want to take my money. And then the person that
Right.
doesn't like whole life, I go, well, why don't you want whole life? Oh, whole life is so expensive. So my mom, dad, grandma, aunt, uncle, cousin told me don't ever do whole life. And I'm like, oh, are they in insurance? No. I'm like, okay. So it gets, you know, we ask good questions with this. So that's a big piece. But so anyhow, so we've got just recapping, 2 term products. We got 2 whole life products. We have our, you know, really healthy person whole life. And then we have our final expense that goes up to 50,000 with American Amicable. So we've got 4 products covered. I want to show you one, what we call an auxiliary product. It's going to be with Mutual of Omaha, and it is going to be the Guaranteed Advantage. Now, they aren't going to tell us what this product is. They're going to make us guess because it doesn't make any sense. This is a guaranteed issue product, and AD is capitalized for accidental death. I am a big advocate of this product. This is one that anybody between the ages of 18 and 70 is automatically qualified for, no matter what. You know, as long as they can click to sign, we can get them covered.
And it's accidental
death only.
That was the one we did for my guy who is missing the toes, right?
That's the one, Brittany. That's the one, the guy missing the toes. And that's why we love doing appointments virtually and not in home anymore. You guys don't understand. When this business started, I was in home writing paper apps, and like, there's some hilarious, I mean, the stories are hilarious.
Scary.
But one of my buddies in this business literally goes, oh yeah, do you have appointment pants? And I go, what are appointment pants? And he goes, I only wear one pair of pants to go to appointments because I don't know what I'm going to sit in. So it's the same pair of pants every day.
I see. It makes you think of like why it would be mostly men, you know, this business has been men dominated, because I wouldn't go into somebody's.
No, Jen, you're so right. It was a big piece of it. You know, we would recruit ladies in, and it was a thing like, hey, you're going to go to people's homes, and if you feel uncomfortable, like, get out of there. And I've never felt uncomfortable in a home. I've only ever heard one story because it was a really unique, it really wasn't, but it was actually someone that I knew. And we actually had a male go over there and do the policy. And he goes, I get it. The guy was super nice, but it was kind of like a halfway house. And there was just a lot of guys, and it was really, he goes, I didn't feel uncomfortable, but he goes, I get it,
Yeah.
And so,
I did
so that's
home health
why,
before.
that's the big thing though, why this is swinging to, was I talking to you, Jennifer Hill, this morning about how, or I don't know which one of y'all was talking, I think it was Jennifer, how when I saw this industry and I saw this business and I was building an agency, I go, the way it is, the emotion behind this, the what ifs,
Yeah.
the care, the concern, I go, this is built, not be sexist, but this is built for women. Guys suck at this. Like, we got to talk about emotions. I mean, but I think it was that in-home model, Jen, that you were saying, that it was like, ooh, I don't know if I want to do this.
Yeah.
The virtual model, I'm telling you, we are seeing a shift of women coming to do this. I mean, we've got Ashley Marie. I mean, she did $100,000 last month, going to do it again this month, all virtual, a lot of it just over the phone. It's amazing how it's getting the creep factor out of there of going.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, what an opportunity. So
Right.
it's really cool to see. All right, back to guaranteed advantage. Again, 18 to 70, male, female, the rates swing wildly because apparently guys die from accidentals a lot. You'll see this here in a second. It goes as low as 50,000 up to $500,000 in increments of 1,000. Let's talk about this 40-year-old guy. Let's do $500,000. I love this quote because it's so simple. Let's go up to 40 again. And it's boom, calculate the quote. I don't ever Jennifer Hill do stuff quarterly, giving her a hard time. She did her. I typically I push people towards the monthly. I have one policy in 6 years of this business. I have one policy on the book that's annually, and I have two policies on the books that are quarterly. I know this shows it to you. I'm really, people's brains think monthly. Their budgets are month. I mean, who's here's budget is monthly, right? I mean, we all have a monthly budget. That's why monthly just works. So this is $63.44 for $500,000 of coverage. It doesn't say it on here, but this is a big note for accidental. This goes all the way to age 89. So the policy will not change. The coverage will not change until the age of 89, and then it does cancel out.
Okay.
So really, really neat policy. If you're within age, and the quoter will tell you, this is where I'll add this on. A big thing that I'll do, let's say we've got 300,000 of accidental, but they really wanted, maybe like 600, or we have, $300,000 of term. We've added on, but they really wanted 500,000, but they couldn't afford it because they really wanted that $25,000 whole life because they should have it. Hey, hold on a second. I know you did that $300,000 of term. What if we added on $200,000 of accidental death benefit? So now we've got 300 term, we've got 200,000 of accidental death, and so I love adding. I mean, this is an add-on. Some of the best agents out there, when they're writing an app, they're adding on accidental. And so,
and what is the statistic, or is there one? I mean, I know you have said
accident is the fourth leading cause of death in America.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So it is. So now one other thing that you can do if they're young enough is add on this return of premium rider. So if we remember, our quote here is $28.01. If you add on return of premium, it's really cool. It actually only goes up to $39. It went up $11. But what that means is it takes 30 years. But if you have this policy for at least 30 years, you can actually get 100% of all the money you put into it back. So this is it's a really inexpensive return of premium rider. I put it on almost every one of these that I can because I'm like, well, yeah, like that's easy. That's easy money to do to get 100% of my premiums back on a small policy. Big advocate of the return of premium rider.
Is there a certain age range?
So let's play around with this. I think it's 50, but the quoter
under 50.
Yep. So actually I think it is. So watch this. If I do 51, look at this right here. I put in, there it is. ROP rider only available between the ages of 18 and 50. So the other big question that your client will ask you is, what is an accidental death? And I give them two stories. Story number one is, let's say you're driving down the road and you have a heart attack and wreck your car and died. Was the cause of that a health issue or was it an accident? Who wants to take a guess?
Say a heart attack.
I would say a heart attack because it happened first.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It happened first. So this would not pay out. Story number two, and story number two is a real story of a client's husband, older gentleman, 70 years old. He was on a ladder out back of a storage facility fixing a broken light, and it was raining out, and he was having some problems with his legs. Like it was raining outside, fixing the light bulb. There's so many things that should not have been happening here. But he slipped and fell, and it was an outside door. He had the door propped open. He hit his head on the door. He managed to crawl inside, and he had a stroke and died. He had this policy. The crazy story about this is people are distraught, right? She's widowed out of a tragic accident. She called in, got all the paperwork done. She goes, Marty, I thought it was a $2,500, not a $25,000. She thought it was a $2,500 accidental policy that he had. She got the check in the mail. She was so distraught. She didn't even know how much it was through all the process of the paperwork. She gets the check in the mail from Mutual of Omaha. It was $250,000.
Oh, wow.
Now, here's the other thing I tell people about an accident. We can see a lot of health problems coming, right? Someone can have a stroke and a heart attack and survive. We can have some time, right? Cancer sucks, but we can fight it. It can last a couple months, couple years. We can beat it all together, right? My dad had a stroke. He's doing fine. You can get triple bypass and come back. That's what health offers you. We never see an accident coming. We can never plan for an accident. You can plan for health. There are options. We can never plan for an accidental. For the love of everything, for $28, let's put $200,000 of coverage on you in addition.
Okay.
That's my passion. So those are the core 5 products: 2 term, 2 whole life, 1 for healthy, 1 for unhealthy, and then just this really supplemental accidental policy that I think is extraordinarily important. So that is the quick breakdown of it. Accidental, I don't care who you are. You could have all the health issues in the world. If you are under the age of 70 or over the age of 18, write this on somebody.
Okay.
Right? Like, please let me get this on you. Well, I don't think I'm going to die from an accident. I'm like, well, we knew when you were going to die. We would write up that policy right before then. So this is how I view things. This is the simple piece. We can do more complicated stuff down the road, but if it goes outside of this range, that's when you reach out. That's why we mentor. It's why they call me the human virtual mentor, and I can help you.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing too. The thing I love about this business and what we ultimately train people for is the carriers help us. Like, these carriers have reps that are paid to help us write business with them. And so there's going to be a lot of times where, that's kind of right on the edge. I don't know if it can do an IUL Express. It's a 60-year-old with some health issues. Hey, call Mutual of Omaha's underwriter. Run it by them. Run it by the professional that's in-house for that company, for that product. That's the kind of resources that we have. And so that's a big piece. Do not be scared to call the underwriter. And it's simple. I mean, you get the phone numbers and everything. I can get you all that stuff. American Amicable has a live chat. I was on it today, and they have a risk assessment. So you don't have to be stuck on the phone. You can literally be doing 1,000 other things. They're the only carrier we have that has a live chat with policy issue things, with contracting. If you're trying to get some contractor, that's why I was on there. If you need a risk assessment, jump on the chat. You can get your answer from the chat faster than texting me, right?
I did
So
that.
I don't want to be the reason that you are slowed down. Boy, if you're not sure if we can do American Amicable term, ask their risk assessment people. They're better than me. They're a billion times better than I am, and they're faster than I am. So that's the cool part about this that really allows you to be independent quickly as you get comfortable with that. So don't be scared to call the carriers. And then as you dig into this, as you run into scenarios, we get to learn the subtleties of other products without being overwhelmed. These are the only 5 that you need to be good at right now. That's it. Get really good at these. They will make you a ton of money. They will protect a ton of people. And when you become, you kind of do something, you do it routine enough until it just becomes reflexive. And this is reflexive for me now, where it's like, oh, I know either I have to go ask a risk assessment person because I don't know, or I'm like, oh yeah, go to, oh, well, there was a 60-year-old and they kind of had a heart condition. I was like, what do you mean kind of? Well, I mean, they had this stent put in 5 years ago, but they're really healthy. I'm like, do you think I can get IUL, the Express? I'm like, nope, it's Dignity Solutions. Yeah, I know, but the doctor said they have a clean bill of health. It's Dignity Solutions. I'm like, you can keep coming at me. The stint is still in there. It's still in their medical. It's still going to be this. Those are things that just become reflexive after you do it routine enough. So, does that answer a lot of the questions? At least give you guys something. I'll upload this recording to YouTube. I'll give you guys the link so you can share it with your team. I know it's kind of long, but it is important. I'm
Super
also,
helpful.
what I want to do for you guys, and actually my entire team, you guys aren't that special. I do have other people. But it's actually, I was telling Jennifer Hill, I was like, you guys are forcing me to make content, which is really good because
Yeah, we are, right? Because we like streamline. We like
yes.
content.
And so what I also want to do is with American Amicable and Mutual of Omaha is I will make quick videos on how to fill out the application properly. And I'll post those up on YouTube just so you have those. SBLI, we pretty much got to the end on that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
But there are a couple little subtleties on there that I'll point out as I do the videos. And I should be able to keep those. You know, I wanted to keep them quick because I saw Jen Caldwell yawning because we're talking about insurance. So it's okay. Just kidding. I was like, I know
I'm just yawning because I'm old.
I'm just giving you a hard time. I was
I
like,
feel better now. Yeah.
no, I
It's
saw
past
you
your
yawn, and I'm like,
bedtime.
I get it. This is insurance, but this is the stuff. I mean, you guys know the business you're coming. This is the stuff that it is the amount of good that we get to do, and we get paid extraordinarily well to do it. It's worth learning for
Mhm.
sure. And then if you
And
don't
this
know,
helps a lot. It very much, it simplifies a lot
yep.
to